As mixers, we're always looking for one of two things: how to sound like another mixer because they happen to be a hero of ours, or we're determined to make our own unique sound, an impact that hopefully lets us sit at the head of the mixing table for 5 to 10 years. But regardless of what side you stand on, there will always be some things that always sound good no matter what you do. A few settings or presets that are impossible to make sound bad when it comes to the audio world. Well, by the end of this video, you'll know 5 of these things that work in basically every scenario. So what's happening, fam? Miami here with JST, and if you're wondering why I'm holding this button up, it's because I like buttons, and hopefully you do too. So make sure you hit that like button, subscribe button, and notification bell to be aware of new content when it drops. My transition game is still crazy. Throughout my years of mixing and being in and out of studios, I realized that there are tons of producers that never change the settings. It's pretty set or forget, especially when it comes to hardware. And that means that the same thing should work for software, right? It should actually work even better in the plugin world because there's nothing that can be a variable. There's no change of electrical current. It's not going to make your plugin work any differently than it would with a hardware circuit. So without going any further, the first setting that works in every single scenario, no matter what, the ZUUL preset on CLA bass. I don't remember when I first picked this up, but it was reaffirmed to me a couple years ago when I saw Carson Slowback using this on a bass bus. The interesting thing about ZUUL is that it takes all of the plugin's processing away that can be affected by parameters and only leaves what CLA deems the sound of the plugin. He explains this about the CLA drums, but I'm pretty sure the same concept applies here.
Underneath the hood, no matter what, there's a thing going on that kind of emulates my circuit of my bus. So if you just run the kick through ZUUL, you could just use it just to add like the bus sound. So I made those presets for all the drums. So it's really cool. So check out ZUUL if you just want to do something simple.
It seems like it adds a bit of saturation and a sweet EQ curve, but let's try this out on a bass track and see what happens. Pretty interesting, right? All right, let's hop on to the second thing. XCITE on the drum bus. So this is a DrumForge plugin, but it's a drum exciter, and I use it to bring life to basically every rock track that I ever do. It brings all the life out of the cymbals and snare, but not in a harsh way. I've tried to get this same effect with a ton of things. EQing it, oral exciters, a bunch of things, but nothing ever lives on my drum bus like this does. The key is to only use the treble and high mid for the excitement. One of the biggest improvements to my drum bus that I found. A good friend of mine, Robin Lejean, put me onto this a while ago, and I've never looked back. Notice how the overall tonality of the drums changed with just a tiny bit of boosting. The treble's sitting at 5, the bass is on 3, and that's enough to make this much of a difference. Make sure to have the high quality button engaged. On to our third one, vocal de-essers. And there are actually 2 ways to deal with this in preset form, and they both come from FabFilter. First up, we have FabFilter de-esser. I see people open this up and start tweaking with the settings, but I came to the conclusion that this sounds best when it's in its default state. When I'm dealing with a single vocal, I leave it on single vocal, and when it's on the vocal bus, I put it on all round. It doesn't really take more than that. Another preset that's a go-to if you feel like Pro DS is doing a little bit too much is one of these 2 in FabFilter Pro MB, De-esser or De-ess and Enhance. This will depend on the material you have, but I promise that one of these is going to work every single time. So there goes all of your de-essing issues. If you didn't know some of these, I promise it's going to make your life a lot easier having some go-tos.
You can't break me 'cause I always saw right through you. You can't break me 'cause I always saw right through you.
Number 4 preset that works every time. C4 on the guitar bus. This was pioneered by Andy Sneap back in the day. Kind of got loose in the Sneap forums, and people used to get made fun of for just leaving it on their bus, but the reality is, it just works flawlessly every time. Okay, maybe it won't make you a better engineer, but it will definitely make your guitar mix sound better. The concept is scooping the low mids, but instead of scooping them out completely, it only ducks them when they get overwhelming, and since you're using a multi-band compressor, it's not taking away those vital frequencies when they're necessary to actually fill the mix out. Number 5, we have the 1176 on vocals. Attack on 4, release on 7. It doesn't really matter which 1176 emulation that you have, this is always going to be a safe bet. If you're working on clean vocals, I always stay with the ratio on 4. If it's screams or a very aggressive type vocal, I push it to 20. The bluey mode is the one that gives grit to the upper mid range, which makes it extremely popular when adding character to a vocal. Just see where this sounds best between 3 and 7 dB of gain reduction, and you're all set to go. And onto our last one, number 6. The SSL bus comp. When dealing with any type of upbeat music with an edge, I always go 4:1 ratio, attack on 30 and release at 0.1. I never find a situation in which this setting doesn't sound good. Just don't push it over 4 dB of gain reduction because you'll start to have diminishing returns. When dealing with all other kinds of music, the safest settings that always sound good are 2:1 ratio, attack once again on 30 with an auto release. This with about 2 to 3 dB of gain reduction, and you'll always be solid. So let's go over all of these one more time. The ZUUL preset on CLA bass, XCITE on the drum bus, vocal de-essers, C4 on the guitar bus, the 1176 on vocals, and the SSL bus comp settings. These are some set it and forget it presets that just work without fail. Hopefully you steal some of these to help you get through your mixing and productions. There are always going to be things you can do to make a mix unique, but it's always nice to have something to fall back onto that's going to work without fail. Are there any things that you guys think that I missed? If so, let me know in the comments below and I will catch you guys later. If you're an engineer on the come up, give this video a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe, you only have to do it one time, and tap that bell for notifications so when a video drops, you know the location. Until next time, I am out of here. Mic drop. Except as engineers we know, I'd never really drop this thing, because that get really expensive, even if it is a piece of shirt. Later.